He keeps himself in trim by bending bars of iron. This bar is the genuine article which we tested before he began to play with it.
Beyond the bend, beyond the bend.
All right, everybody, we have a special guest here. Go take your power rack and chop it up with a Sawzall and turn it into bending stock, because we have James Fuller in the house, Strongman Archaeology. Welcome to the show, James.
Thank you. That's the best. That's the best I've ever heard. Yeah, just chop it up and make it into bending material. Yeah, why not?
All right,
Everybody get bent. Oh yeah.
Before we get going, I got a few announcements. Last week, I announced that Barrel Strength has cert bars, aluminum cert bars. Those have been recalled because the stock was bad, so I don't think too many people ordered them, but Gil is working that out. The other thing Gil has going on is a grip implement called the Flask. If you can do a pull-up on that thing, you get on a roster. So if you can do a pinch pull-up, you're getting on a list. The other thing I want to talk about is Horito bending. Jan Heller, former guest of Germany, he's got some really, really good bolts, some really hard bolts. We got bending certifications for snapping, bare hand, reverse double underhand, double overhand, whatever you want to be on, he's got a list for it. So go to Horito Bending and get on those lists. We got Grip and Bend Italia. You want to order some bars from Italy? Get on that list. There's like 2 Americans, no Canadians. Get on that list. Grip and Bend Italia on Instagram. Get with it. Last, my friend Devin Hoover is keeping track of who's bending 80D nails unbraced. This is an unofficial roster. You bent one of those things, you want to get on a list, get a Eat Chalk Get Big. Also, if you've bent 2 60Ds taped together, get on that list too. Get in touch with Eat Chalk Get Big, my friend Devin Hoover. Wow. Lastly, JT Strausner, former guest, has the challengedude.com. There's only 6 people on that roster. That's a stainless bar and a red equivalent. I'm on there. I think Don Cummings just got on there. Order those bars and get on there. It's going to be a long winter. And lastly, if you're not part of the Steel Shredder group of David Horn on Facebook, get with it, because there's stuff going on all the time there. There's grip contests, there's steel contests, steel snapping. It's so much fun. There's plenty of time to get your steel delivered. And that's it. All right. James, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So this one's going to be a little bit different because your specialty is, I'd say, steel bending adjacent, but there's lots of through lines, and people are excited for this one. But I'll start it the same way anyway. Tell me about the first time you remember seeing someone bend some steel.
Bend some steel. Geez, I would have been pretty young. I probably wasn't even in kindergarten yet.
Wow. And
just the men working on vehicles, if you needed a piece of steel or if you needed something to augment your tool. I mean, in Maine, they almost seem to get more excited if they don't have the right tool for the job, because it gives them a chance to create something, you know. So they would bend and shape either rod or square stock to do whatever they needed it to do for to work on a motor or to do a mount on a body, you know, for mounting with the frame and everything. I don't know if I can remember the first time, but I remember it was common. You know, you'd lean into it. You know, you'd have a pair of gloves on, you'd lean into it, curl it, crimp it, whatever you got to do. You know, use your body weight, squeeze it with your legs. So, you know, it's not much different than what you see guys doing. You know?
Yeah, that's interesting. So that was more out of necessity than like sport, I might say.
Yeah. It's just what I grew up with, and it's, you know, I think a lot of sport comes from guys who, well, like I'm sure playing with with an axe and levering it down to your face. I'm sure that started with lumberjacks who maybe had a break and ate lunch and messing around after work or after lunch, going, "Hey, I can do this. Can you?"
Yeah.
Or guys at the boat yard, you know, back when they used to make chains by heating it up and then pounding the ends together, bending and pounding on an anvil. Hey, I can do this with a hammer. Can you do this with a hammer?
Right.
So I think a lot of what we do has come from some utility.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm full of it, but it just always made sense to me that the guys at some point, the contests are going to come from the guys that used to have a specific purpose.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
And
You hear about that with the historic stone lifting, that it was just like two farmers in a field, like taking a break or whatever, and just, hey, can you lift that? And
sure.
it becomes a
Well,
thing.
yeah, it's really interesting. I think the reason why history is important um, with everything. I don't think just lifting or just bending, but I think if you can kind of understand what was the genesis of it, what was the need or necessity for it, then maybe it'll help you understand what you can take it to the next level. You understood where it came from.
Yeah.
Not that you have to do that, but I think history is like studying history of lifting has helped me understand how and why we do things today, and how and why it may not be better, or where it may have lost its way in some respects. And I'm not saying someone's going to go get a degree in it, but if you understand where it came from, I think it can help you understand maybe the intent of the first people to do it. And say, hey, maybe I want to go that way. Maybe I want to see if I can take it that way.
Yep.
So it can make it interesting, at least.
Definitely. And I think when you develop a passion for something, like my dad's a musician. He taught me how to play, and like music was a very big part of my upbringing. And
What
so
do you
when
play?
I play guitar, drums, a little bit of this, I can fake most things, but
Yeah. I played flute,
oh, cool.
some clarinet and saxophone, so
Nice.
tuba, yeah,
Yep.
and sing.
Oh, great. I played trumpet in school, but in my
Cool.
teenage life and adult years, it was kind of just playing in punk and rock bands and stuff like
Cool.
that.
Yeah.
But same kind of thing. It was like I'd discover a band, I'd want to know who their influences were, and I'd be
Right.
tracing it back until the like the
Yeah.
Robert Johnsons and the Howlin' Wolves and the Lightning Hopkins,
Sure.
the blues guys, and then figuring out what they were doing, playing slide guitar
Oh,
with like
yeah.
a bottle and a knife, and just
Oh,
always
yeah.
anything you're interested in. I think if you
No.
have a depth of love for it, you're gonna go backwards.
Yeah, I think you want to understand your passion better.
Mm-hmm.
I
Definitely.
think the nice thing about passion is it does away with the foolishness of self-esteem or intelligence. If you're passionate about something, you simply must drink more of it, and you don't think about, am I smart enough or am I good enough? It doesn't even enter your head. You're so in love with it that you'll go through a brick wall. You'll walk over hot coals to learn more about whatever it is. You don't even consider, you become limitless.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're just, I'm going to know more. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no question. And it's kind of cool to see that with people that are passionate. It's like,
Right.
they have no idea that they can't do that, or that they shouldn't even try because they don't have the right education. No, they don't care.
Yeah.
Just go and do it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool about passion.
And that's what I'm finding as I do more of these. It's like I said on another episode that it's kind of ironic that I'm trying to host a podcast, because there's often times when I find small talk to be quite difficult, right? Like, how's the weather, this and that, like at some party. But if I sense that someone has some passion for something, some depth, some love for something, it doesn't have to be something I love too, it just has to be that attitude within them and that quest. Then we could talk all day. I remember the instance was about comics. I don't care about comics, but I could relate to this person because they had that passion for that thing as well,
Absolutely. Yes. It's you start to feel a love for it because it's contagious.
Yep. Yeah.
It's very interesting.
All right, James. Well, it's clear you have a passion for lifting and the old time lifts. Your Instagram is one of the most inspiring things, man. And
Thank you. Thanks.
I've gotten a few people saying, "Oh, the podcast gets me so psyched up to bend," and that's my ultimate goal with this. It's just to if I can motivate someone to go just do something that they enjoy, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
So when I scroll past your page, and you're doing all these wild lifts on a piece of plywood in your driveway, like that makes me want to go lift.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, you see someone like Don Cummings, who, how many red nails did he bend? Did he bend like 100 red nails in a row?
102, yeah.
100. Oh yeah, 102. Yeah, it's just it. In some ways, it's either going to do one of two things. Either I'm going to go out and tear up everything with my weights, or I'm going to sell them.
Mhm.
So I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like 102 red nails? Are you
Yep.
serious, dude? Did you leave any for the rest of us? Come on, Don. But yeah, he's great to watch. Or if you watch Adam Glass do whatever Adam Glass does, which is just amazing.
Yeah.
Or who's the guy who goes by the name Canuck?
Oh, Chuck and Canuck.
Chuck and Canuck.
Josh
Good
Goldthorpe.
Lord.
Yep.
Goodness.
Rookie.
What is wrong
beyond
with
the
him?
Bend
Is he
Rookie
not?
of the year?
Has he not heard of internet porn? Hasn't he got something else better to do with his time? Goodness. He's
got the
awesome.
passion. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So you just watch these guys. And the great thing about bending is, I remember Bill Starr talked about, Bill Starr. I love Bill Starr, but not Bill Starr. Bill Pearl,
Okay.
multi-time Mr. Universe. A guy that was so threatening that they banned NABA, North Atlantic Bodybuilding Association, folks from competing in the IFBB because they were afraid he was going to beat Arnold. That's how good he was.
Wow.
And he's still alive today. He's 80 years old now. About 90 years old. He just turned 90. And he talked about that the easiest thing was just bring in some license plates to rip and some steel spikes to bend to do an exhibition. He goes, you don't have to bring a weight set. You don't have to have them provide you with a weight set. So the great thing about bending and tearing steel and so on is it doesn't take up much space. It doesn't cost a lot, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or Robert, I'm going to say his name wrong, but Robert Nedgley, is that how you say it?
Jedley. Yeah. Yeah.
The Jedley. And what's he bending? Dimes now? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Give me a break. Or at least he's getting a taco with a dime.
Yep.
I'm like, dude, really?
Yeah.
It's just awesome. It's just,
Yeah.
but it's like back when, I don't know, back when McHale, Parrish, and Bird were destroying everybody when they were in the Celtics back in the 80s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, no. It's just, where do you go from there? You know, but
Yeah.
it's so inspiring what those guys do. I love it.
Yeah, it's cool to hear you have that respect for it too, because I know firsthand that they have the respect for what you're doing too, you know, and it's all related, like we were saying before the show.
Oh yeah. And the pain it takes. I mean, you really got to face the pain and just ignore it.
Yeah.
You know? What's that? I think you remember Garrison Keillor of the Prairie Home Companion? Remember that show at all?
Yes.
Radio show.
Yep.
He would say sometimes you have to look reality right square in the eye and deny it. You know, that's what you got to do with pain.
Yep. So tell me a little bit about your background and just how you came up in lifting and how you developed this true love for the old time lifts. And on another podcast, I remember you were talking about how many lifts there were at the turn of the century and how they've just been trimmed down to 2.5, 3.
Yeah, well, two in weightlifting and 3 in powerlifting.
Mm-hmm.
Powerlifting didn't become a nationally organized sport here in the States until 1964. But I got started in 7th grade, I think, 6th grade, 7th grade. Would have been 1982 or so.
Okay.
So I would have been about 12 years old, and I was having some back problems. And now I know it was sciatica, but all I knew is I hurt. I would have to crawl around on the floor in the morning, and I figured, well, I need to get stronger. Not that I knew I didn't think it was going to do me any good. I just thought I need to get stronger so I could be able to do things, go to work, because I had jobs as well as going to school.
Wow.
Not knowing that, hey, when you make something stronger, the pain goes away. What an idea. So the thing is that bodybuilding was it though. I mean, there was no powerlifting back then for magazines.
Yeah.
So there was no weightlifting magazines on the news rack. So when you went to the newsstand at the grocery store or wherever, drugstore, it was all bodybuilding. And Arnold was hitting his stride. And nobody made the bodybuilding lifestyle look more fun than Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
He was what Muhammad Ali was to boxing. He was what or is what Bruce Lee is to martial arts. You know, and Bruce Lee is actually a huge influence on my lifting, actually. But so you got into bodybuilding because that's all there was. Of course, the magazines at the time were promoting the machines, and I didn't have the machines, so I felt like I was kind of hamstrung on having the machines. But I did the best I could, and fortunately, the first instruction booklet was old enough that it still had a lot of those old lifts in it, like a Jefferson lift and a hack lift. So I've been doing those lifts over 35 years, and it kind of clicked. It's like, all right, here's a deadlift. That's a bar in front of you. All right, next time you're going to do a Jefferson lift, that's the bar between your legs.
Right.
The next time's a hack lift, that's the bar behind you. And it kind of just clicked. Oh, I can just do whatever. I don't always have to do everything with the bar right in front of me, you know? So that kind of right away said, you can do whatever. I did bodybuilding for about 20 years. Got into powerlifting after a divorce, kind of something to break out on my own and do something really different. And I was doing raw powerlifting for a few years. Decided I wanted to try some weightlifting. So I was 35, I think, when I got into competitive weightlifting. And at the same time, some local nut job, God bless him, he decided to start running strongman meets. So I also started competing in strongman at 35 years old. So, and I loved it. It was a lot of fun. So I started developing this idea that, you know, little weightlifting is not going to hurt your powerlifting, and a little strongman isn't going to hurt either one of those. You know?
Right.
You know, and it's like Bruce Lee always talked about weightlifting is expressing the body. You know, and I always liked that.
Yeah.
You know, I always thought that was pretty cool. And then, you know, I still wasn't into old time stuff because the old time strongman, oh, we used to do that. This is how things were. And we wore silly costumes and we had handlebar mustaches, but we do things better now. It's like, no, actually we don't, because now we have to do all this mobility work that used to be built in.
Right.
But I didn't know that yet. And there's a pro strongman named George Olson from Denmark. And Ironman magazine did a cover, actually had him on the cover, but they did a profile on him. And he was deadlifting over 700 pounds with just his middle finger. And so they gave you a way of doing a one-hand deadlift similar to how he was doing his middle finger deadlift. They weren't going to recommend you do a middle finger deadlift. And I remember I went and tried that with a dumbbell. And I have no idea if it did the effect that I wanted. It was supposed to help with building up your arms because it blew up my delts. It blew up my delts like nothing I'd ever done in my life. And that's when I was like, you know, maybe I need to start looking at this old time strongman stuff.
Yeah.
And so it took me a couple of years because being online still wasn't common yet.
Right.
This was in the late 90s, early 2000s. But eventually I started getting online a bit and finding out there were places to compete in old time strongman. And then I noticed that the competing is cool, but I'm noticing these lifts actually have some merit. You know, they build mobility and strength. You know, and that's kind of brought me up to today. I've just further explored it more and more. Started doing a lot of one-hand lifts, one-hand deadlifts, one-hand snatch, one-hand clean and jerk, and just realizing what it has to offer. You know, it's like, okay, we're missing out on a lot of athleticism and mobility. You know, there used to be no such thing as rotator cuff injuries. You know, and now there is.
Wow.
And if you look at a lot of the lifts we do today, they come from grappling and wrestling. You know, between squats, we got from the Steinborn lift, which was Henry Steinborn, who was a great wrestler, wrestled for 35 years professionally, I think. It was something ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, and Arthur Saxon and George Hackenschmidt not only were literally, I think Hackenschmidt was the first world champion wrestler, professional wrestler. So he and Saxon both won world championship wrestling titles and world champion weightlifting titles.
Wow.
You know, and I think they were both also quite into cycling at one point. They were cyclists, if I remember right.
No kidding.
It was a kind of a newer thing. And so a lot of these guys did gymnastics, They did a lot of kettlebell work, and they were strong and they were agile. They were the whole package, you know. And,
Just a culture of physicality, you know.
yeah, well, it was called physical culture,
Yeah.
and there's a reason for it. It really, they would do whatever they would do whatever would help them move better and
Yeah.
do their sport better or enjoy their lives better, whatever you want to call it. But a lot of grappling, you know.
Well, that's
Boy,
what's
you look at the
something I really enjoy about your page and someone like Bud Jeffries or Adam Glass is the variety.
Bud is,
you know,
yeah, Bud's
it's,
an animal. Bud's an apex. He's the apex of the apex of the apex predator animal. He's insane. I love him. I love him. He's
Yeah.
so insane.
And you can see, same with you, same with Bud. Like you can see that you guys are enjoying it while you're doing it. You know, it's like the variety. I love seeing that. You know, it's not just like grunting and squatting like the same squat. You know, for the 6th year in a row or whatever. Like the variety is really attractive to me. I've always been someone that's like just gets a little bored with something, wants to put a twist on it, you know, and something that comes up on this show a ton. I think Don was the first one to say it, but we're all kind of saying it in the same way. It's just this pursuit of being strong in all angles, you know, like the functional strength, the farm strength, old man strength, call it whatever you want, but it's just like not linear strength. We're talking overall, like a wrestler. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
well, when I train people, my goal is that they can fall down and be okay.
Yeah.
Or they can have something fall on them and they're okay.
Mm-hmm.
They can quickly grab or slip or catch themselves. It's fine. They're ready for whatever, you know, and that's the goal, you know.
Yeah.
So because most people, they just want to feel good and move good.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. They don't want to necessarily bench 400 pounds or squat 600 pounds or whatever. So don't try to get them to do that.
Right.
Get them as strong as possible. But a lot of the guys, you get them to a 315 bench, they're going to be happy.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
You know, you get them to a 400 pound squat, they're going to be happy. You know?
Without doubt.
Just so they can go do what they do with their families on the weekends.
Yeah.
And not get hurt. And they can keep doing that into their 60s.
Yeah.
Why not? You know, it's not that hard.
Definitely.
No, just but and I try to keep it simple. I try to tell people all the time, look, you barbell, good collars, a couple of adjustable dumbbells, 300, 400, 500 pounds of plates, whatever your goals are going to be. That's it. That's all you need, you know. And it's safe, you know. If you have a rack, you're going to have a tendency, unless you've got a really good coach, breathing down your neck, you're going to have a tendency to overload that thing. Over the Steinborn or a pullover and press, you have to earn that weight that you get to use.
Yeah.
You have to earn it. So if you're doing a Steinborn lift, which is where a barbell's on the ground, you tip up one end, you get under the bar, you rock it under your shoulders and squat. Well, you're not going to do that with 4 plates.
No.
You know, I've done it with 4 plates, but I worked up to it.
Yeah.
And I noticed that with the old time lifts, they require more range of motion. They require more core strength. And you tend not to lift as heavy. But you get more developed. You know what I mean? You get balance, coordination, mobility, and strength. And that's what people want, you know?
Definitely.
So it's interesting. I think people are starting to realize, hey, I would just want to feel better. You know?
Definitely. Well, you certainly see an increase in mobility coaches. I feel like they're blowing up online right now.
Oh,
to balance out all the heavy lifting.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's and you can use the weights to get really flexible. I can usually get people into splits with weights in about 15 minutes or so. You know, it doesn't take long.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't stay there because it takes time to reprogram. But each time you do that with the weights, it'll last longer and longer.
Yeah.
You know? But it's something you're going to have to get stronger and stronger at.
Sure.
Until, like right now, I can get up in the morning and do splits right out of bed or bend over and put my palms flat on the floor with my legs straight. You know.
Nice.
and I just turned 49 last month. So it's
Wow.
just something you can easily do if you know how to do it.
Right. So how did steel bending play into your own training, and how did it come up as you started researching the old time strongmen?
It came up out of curiosity. I just wanted to see what it was like, what kind of mental grit did it take. I like the challenge of it, and it's one thing to look at a plate, a barbell and some plates, or a dumbbell, and you go like, okay, I know it's going to take about this much to do this with it. But you're looking at a cold piece of steel and it don't care. And it's kind of like when you're not sure if the wife's mad at you or not, and she ain't giving you any clues. That's what a cold piece of steel is.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna grit my teeth and get it done.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I would do it for conditioning. I would get a long piece and I'd spend 20, 25 minutes working on it, scrolling, trying to get it tighter and tighter. I actually think I got a video of me doing that on YouTube. I'm just scrolling and keep trying to scroll it.
Yeah.
Or I'll play with the rebar and just work on it for 10 minutes for conditioning. And other was to see the pain of it. How much pain did it take to make a piece of steel yield?
Yeah.
Kind of a funny story. Now it is. It wasn't then. I got to the point that I could bend 60D or 60 penny nails fairly easily. Without a warm up, I could just, take me less than 10 seconds. So I'd go through a bag of nails, and I'd go to a hardware store, buy a bag of nails. So I went to this local hardware store one day. I met up with a friend of mine. I was going to show off how good I got. I don't know what they had done to those nails, but they were not like the other 60 nails I've been playing with.
Yep.
I pulled a tendon in my index finger on the outside. Took forever to heal. I'm like, you jackass, you should know better than going. But everything else had been fine. I've been to a dozen other places, and it's always been the same. But for some reason, this one store had these I don't know where they came from, but it's the only store I go to now to buy nails.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Because once I got those, you got to move up.
Yep.
So yeah, it's I like the pain of it. It really makes you tough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
I know that sounds kind of silly, but it's probably with grappling too. Like there are times you got to know you can fight through something.
Oh, 100%. It's my wife laughs because it's like, she's like, everything that you really love like hurts you in some kind of way. Like, because prior to jiu-jitsu, my love, I was I still skateboard, but I was like fully in with skateboarding, jumping downstairs, jumping on rails, the whole thing. Like, and I quit all sports in 9th grade because of it. I regret that now, but I was fully in with this, and similar to all the other stuff I've gotten into. So there's always been some type of toughness, pain tolerance situation going on.
I think men need that. I think we're designed to kind of get wound up and either protect the clan or protect the family.
And if you're not getting it, that's when you find some guys that are posturing and trying to prove, like they're just so unsure of if they have what it takes that they're just, it's like just emanating from them that they don't,
Yeah. Well, my father was in the special forces, and
all right.
You would never know.
Right.
And by the time you find out, it's too late. Just one of the nicest guys. Kids love him. Kids always want to come up to him and play with him and stuff. And he's just a really nice guy. He's kind of easygoing. He's got nothing to prove.
Sure.
So, but that's how people are that know what they're doing.
Yep.
So it's you're broadcasting the lack of penal ability and your insecurity quite loud and clear when you posture like that.
Yep. And
I think
you
for
know,
one,
if someone did some more grappling or even some more nail bending or heavy lifting and stuff, like just something that's a struggle, that would
yeah,
definitely ease some of that, you know.
I would think your shoulder gets tired from carrying a chip on it all the time.
I'm sure it does.
Jeez, guys. Come on.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the great thing. You meet anyone who's really great at this stuff. All the women, all the men that are really great at any of this. They're just regular, awesome people.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's so funny. Like when you deal with a beginner and they're giving it their best, that's awesome. I got nothing more to ask of you. If you're giving it your best, I don't care if it's 1,000 pounds or 10 pounds. If you're
Hmm.
killing yourself, knocking yourself out, trying to be the best you can be. Isn't that inspiring?
Sure.
You know,
So what's a normal training week look like for you these days? Do you plan in advance, or is it just a completely by feel type of thing? And what kind of goals are you chasing these days?
I'm waiting until the scamdemic or the plandemic is over, and that we can start doing weightlifting meets in person again. I won't do it online.
Hmm.
I'm old,
Yeah.
and we grew up doing things as a group together. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
So if I'm going to do a meet, I'm going to travel out of state or in state, whatever. But I'm going to travel, meet up with other people who also were so much in love with it that they traveled to come to it.
Right. Right.
You know, there's something to that, and but I'll compete in weightlifting as soon as it's available again. You know, basically I do weightlifting training 3 days a week, and then every other day or the days in between that, I will do either heavy get-ups, one-hand get-ups,
Nice.
or heavy bent presses, and then to balance out clean and jerks, I do a lot of. I have a workout of pullover and press.
Yeah.
So it's 6 workouts that I either get done in 1 week or a week and a half,
Hmm.
you know, depending on how I feel and everything else. But so, um, yeah, it's not that it's structured, but I'm really trying to just work on getting stronger with the get-ups, the bent presses, and trying to get the pullover and press kind of up close to what my clean and jerk numbers are.
Nice.
And so that's it right there. I've switched over to a split style on the snatch.
Uh-huh.
Even though I probably give up a few kilos, I don't care. I'm 49. I don't think I'm a threat to anybody at the Nationals, the Pan Americans, or the Olympics.
Yeah.
So by doing the split style, it gives me foot speed, timing, coordination, mobility.
Yeah.
I'm still squat cleaning. So why not make your snatches a split style to get that extra mobility work and foot speed?
Yeah. Yeah.
I find that as I get older, all the stuff they told me about that's a result of being old or getting older, it's crap. I'm 49. And if I moved half as much as I did at 25, I wouldn't have half the mobility issues or the creaky joint issues or getting out of bed is hard or up off the couch is difficult.
Yeah.
It's crap.
Yeah.
Think about back when you were skateboarding. If you're doing right now, right today, if you started doing half the stuff you used to do back when you were skateboarding, you'd probably drop 5 pounds in a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'd probably you burn a lot of calories. You'd be
Yeah.
moving a lot more, and you
Yeah.
wouldn't be feeling as much age as you may feel now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just so I don't think it's as much getting older as it is you just don't have the same moving habits as you used to have.
Right. Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
So about the get-ups, that's been to certain people that I've talked to, especially in the world of jiu-jitsu and grappling in general, many people have said that if you could only do one exercise, they would recommend get-ups with weight, just because they think it's just so beneficial. So I'd like you to just like dive into that a little deeper. Is that what you're using for your like conditioning, or what's your motivation with doing those every other day?
Well, the get up and the bent press kind of feed each other.
Mm.
They help each other out. They both require a lot of shoulder strength, a lot of rotator cuff strength, and a lot of mobility. And so the get up that I'm doing requires more time under tension and for the shoulder. And so it gives me a chance to really solidify and shore up that shoulder to have the endurance for a heavy bent press. Ronnie Collins back in 1949 in Long Beach, California, did a one-hand get up with a 265-pound barbell. So there's huge potential there.
Yeah.
So you could potentially do body weight on a one-hand get up if you wanted to. Bent pressing used to be in excess of the clean and jerk. You would bent press more than what you could clean and jerk.
Wow.
So I use those two to kind of feed each other and to keep my lateral mobility, my side-to-side movement open. So my thoracic spine, my glute medius, my quadratus lumborum, all the muscles on the side of me that I want to stay open.
Yeah.
The one hand get up and the bent press really help with that a lot, actually.
Nice.
And I came up with a seated version of the bent press a few months ago. That's really been helpful too.
I definitely saw that. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. That's very hard, but it's so, I rotate stuff around. You do the same thing. The same lift's going to quit at the same point every time, right? If you're doing back squats, it's going to fail at the same point. So doing more back squats isn't going to fix that weak point.
Right.
So I'll find a different type of squat, usually what I'll do is I do a squat for 2 weeks and then or 2 workouts, and then I'll go to a one leg, like a step up or a lunge or a split squat for 2 weeks, and then go back to some type of front squat or overhead squat or whatever. Because when you're doing a squat, you're going to be limited by the weaker leg. The stronger leg always carries the weaker leg.
Yep.
So I use the squats more to build up my torso strength, my stability of holding a heavy weight overhead or on the front of my shoulders, on the back. And then I use the lunges, the split squats, and so on to build up the actual leg strength. Does that make sense, or am I talking crap?
No, it does.
Okay.
It does. And then something you touched on there in the stability for the squat, something that I'm finding and the guys that I look to as coaches that are always stressing to me is just body tension, and that's something that is so key in steel bending. It's just for like the braced bending and the leg crushing. I feel like the more tense I can make my body, just the more power I have to bend the steel. So,
well, I'm gripping the floor with my feet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no way I'm going to bend anything if I'm not gripping the floor and like cramping the muscles in my feet, trying to like dig into the floor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going to brace, man. I mean, it's called a brace bend for a reason. You're going to brace everything, man.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I'm bending, the piece is in my hands, but I'll get cramps in my groin from just, you know what I mean? It's just, man, you've got to put everything into it.
Is there any like
kind of like,
I like what you
to
said.
me,
it's
kind of like breaking a board. You know how you put all your focus into breaking a board? I mean, I haven't done it, so I probably should shut up and stop talking, but similar idea of trying to break a piece of steel or bend a piece of steel. You're taking your whole body and trying to channel all your chi, all your energy into that one moment, know? What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
No, it's no problem. Sorry. I like what you said about gripping the floor with your feet. Are there any other like mental or physical cues that you do? It might be so instinctual for you at this point, it's hard to articulate, but that would be beneficial for people to hear, like in creating body tension.
The question I get all the time is about breathing and how to prep your breath before you exert. And I'm like, well, if you ever had your buddies messing around with you and one of them goes to throw you a gut shot, but they're not going to do it, but they're just making you flinch. You know how you, like that, you breathe in real quick and you tense? That's how you lift.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. That's it. Just a quick, like somebody's going to hit you in the gut, but they're not, but you don't know they're not going to. And you just do a quick little, Unless it's the Conan's wheel, and then you're on your own because there's just no way to live or breathe during a Conan's wheel. It's just the worst thing in the world.
I don't even know what that is.
That's in strongman.
Oh, okay.
The Conan's wheel event is just the worst. Trying to breathe,
Okay.
like whatever. You're just.
Gotcha.
It's just the absolute worst.
I'm
It's
gonna
just
look that up
you.
after we're done.
Well, it's basically like a 4 or 5, maybe even a 6-inch axle.
Okay.
You know, on a pivot, and you're walking in a circle. It's from the movie. Yeah, it's from Conan with
I
Arnold
have
Schwarzenegger.
seen
Yeah.
that. I just didn't know the term.
Okay. Yeah, the Conan's wheel. So
Wow.
it's the worst, dude.
So how about grip strength? I know you mix that into. Is that every other day thing, or how are you mixing that into the workouts?
No, it's probably into every workout some way or another.
Mhm.
I use it with clients to modulate intensity. I don't let anyone use straps, and I don't let them use a hook grip until I tell them it's time to use a hook grip.
Nice.
And so that means they're limited by their grip. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's okay if it takes you a couple extra weeks. Listen, we don't need to make the fastest weight increases possible for regular everyday people. If it takes them twice as long as what it takes people like you and I to make the 5-pound, 10-pound gains on their bent rows, who cares? They don't.
Mhm.
So if I can give them more time of doing more reps with perfect technique, why not?
Yeah.
So let the grip limit them. Why not? You know?
Yeah.
So I was doing weightlifting tonight. I was doing cleans. I worked up to 2 1/4, and I don't use a hook grip on my weightlifting. None of my weightlifting is hook grip. It's all double overhand.
Nice.
So what if I got to do an extra set to make up for some volume that I could have gotten if I wore straps? Who cares?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because what happens when you try to go for that extra 2 reps? Your form starts to go to shit.
Yeah.
So what if we instead just didn't use the straps and did 1 or 2 extra sets to make up the difference? Who cares?
Yeah.
But you'd be reinforcing some good reps, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it is a gateway to strength. I will say it is a gateway to strength. I had this driven home to me. I hadn't done a strongman meet in 5 years, and a buddy called me up the night before a meet and said, "Can you come down and compete? Because it's all new kids. There's no veterans that are going to compete. We need someone who's been around a while." I'm like, okay. I was 42 at the time or something, and I hadn't touched a stone. I hadn't touched a farmer's handle implement in 5 years or something stupid like that, you know. And but when it came time to load the Atlas stone, it felt the 215. I remember felt like I could spin it on my finger because I've been working a lot of grip in the past 5 years. I've really intensified my grip, and I was like, huh. So that's when I realized that it's a gateway to strength. Like, it doesn't matter if you grab onto someone grappling, or if I grab on even squatting. If you and I woke up tomorrow and our grip was 10% stronger, and you were going to go grapple and I was going to go squat, you and I are both going to have a great session.
Yeah.
Because with a 10% stronger grip, you can manipulate your opponent that much easier.
No doubt. No doubt.
And even if I can, because Ed Cohn is one of the greatest powerlifters of all time, just so we're all clear. He was talking about, you want to try to bend the bar down around your back on squat. It's like a pull down.
Wow.
And just make it one with you. Become one with that weight. And if your grip is strong, man, you know, whenever you try to pick something up and it feels heavy, where does it feel heavy? In your elbows? Your knees? Or do you feel it in your hands? We're picking up with our hands. So if our first sense of something is, that isn't that heavy, what are we going to do mentally? We're going to attack it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would assume same thing with grappling. If you feel like you can take that guy and you can wag him around all day,
huge mental edge.
You already know who's going to win that match.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, so I do whatever I can. I do a lot of hub lifting, I do a lot of plate pinching, but I also just make sure, well, except for I just cleaned the inch dumbbell, but I had straps on because I can't pick it up barehanded yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, why wait until I can pick it up barehanded? Why not practice cleaning it beforehand?
Nice.
So certain situations, yes. And you're still working your grip, whether you're strapped in or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I love towel pull-ups. I'm sure you probably have done gi pull-ups,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Something like that.
And a towel work too. Yeah.
Yeah. And man, so again, it's just how we dive into anything, whether it's benching, grappling, squatting, snatching, is with our hands. So implement it any way you can, man.
Yeah. So you said sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's a week and a half. So I'm guessing there's some days you're taking off. That's something I struggle with personally. Like we talking about at the top with the passion, when you love something, you want to do it all the time. And when you get results, you want to do it all the time. But I felt with bending, I just had to take a full week straight off. Nothing, no lifting, no bending, I was so burnt out, man. I just had nothing left in my tank. So let's talk a little bit about recovery and drop some wisdom on recovery and nutrition, if you got it.
Lots of protein, lots of water, and eat enough carbs to do what you need to do. That's it. It's just fuel, and there's nothing like a good long walk. Go for 15 minutes, a couple of times a day.
Yeah.
Get stuff flowing, man. Just get flowing, and sometimes I'll go for a walk and I'll find myself where there's some rocks, and all of a sudden a not workout situation becomes a workout situation.
Yeah.
Oh, well, so like the best workouts I ever had were where I felt like crap. Like the first world record I ever broke was a workout I almost didn't take because I just felt like crap. It'd been a long day at work. It's the middle of the winter. It had been dark since 3 p.m. It was now 6 p.m. when I got home from work.
Yeah.
I said, you know what, dude, just go out and do something. I'm like, well, I'll go work on this lift I've been playing around with. It's one of the first old-time lifts that I've been really got into. And I had a knack for it. It's one of the few that it's actually come kind of easy to me. And so when you take the pressure off, and like just get the blood flowing. So you play around with it for a few minutes. That's not too bad. So you throw a little more weight on. And you're like, that's feeling pretty good, because there's no pressure. You've taken the expectation,
Yeah.
The next thing you know, I'm like, world record is 319, and I've got 344 on here.
Wow.
And you nail the 344. But if you'd gone in saying you had to do that, it wouldn't happen.
Right.
So if I could tell you, recommend anything, I would say almost all of the best workouts I ever had were the ones I almost didn't take.
Really?
Because I was just feeling like, I'm telling you, like out of 100, I would say 98 of them were ones that I was like, I'm dead. I don't care. I hate everything right now. And I'm just like, dude, just don't be an idiot. Go do something. There are people that can't walk, and you're gonna whine and complain that you can't train. And just go do so. I'll guilt myself if I got it. Whatever I got to do.
Yeah.
I'll guilt.
Yeah.
Why don't you go to the nurse?
What's your thinking about overtraining and that kind of stuff, though? Like, do you believe in sometimes just taking a walk that day, or are you always doing it like? Because that's what I'm trying to find, the fine line between, like, I know I have. I'm speaking personally, but I know I've talked to plenty of guys that are in the same boat. We're all a little mentally crazy and mentally tough. Obviously we're spending this time lifting weights and bending steel and all that. So it's you don't want to reach a point where the returns are diminishing because you're just grinding yourself so hard, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, I'm trying to take the rest and the recovery as serious as I'm taking the pursuit of it,
Well, geez, I could go a couple of ways with this. If you get a chance, look up powerlifter from the 1980s called Jeff Magruder.
Okay.
Jeff Magruder purposely did overtraining, overreaching, whatever you want to call it, because he believed if he did just enough overtraining and he backed off at the right time, he would get a rebound effect. So I think if you can plan on, like, if you have to fit your psychology. I don't care what anyone says. The best program is the one you're going to stay on. I don't care if it's training. I don't care if it's diet. If you're, I don't care how good it is. If you hate it, you're not going to stay on it.
Okay.
And that's what I have to do with clients. I have to help them find what they like.
Sure.
Up to a point. I mean, some stuff you're going to have to do, but you gotta give them enough stuff because they're not athletes. They're not passionate about it, but they're passionate about feeling better. And whatever you can do to help them feel better and move better,
Sure.
Now we got common ground. Now we can get them to do some crazy stuff. So if you're passionate about something, you can do a lot more training. Like people have said, how do you train grip 5 days a week? Like, I like it. I really like it. Like I'll try to make myself not do it, and I'll be out there doing something at some point.
Yeah.
So I have to have a talk with myself and say, okay, dude, you're going balls deep on training this week. You've trained. Sometimes I've trained 7 days in a row on grip, and I'm like,
Right.
you know what's coming. So just be honest with yourself. Say, next week's going to be a little rough. So if you only get 3 grip workouts in next week, you got 7 in this week. So get over it. Stop being greedy. So I think you got to work with yourself, and you're going to be honest with yourself. Say, come on, dude, really?
So just a managing of expectations, sort of.
I think so. I think being honest with yourself. Is it really fair? Is it really fair to expect your kid to be awesome at school every single day, day in and day out? Or is it more realistic to say, kids are human too. They can have good days and they can have bad days.
Yeah.
So it's like Charles Poliquin, rest in peace. God bless him. I love Charles Poliquin. You a fan of his?
I don't know
Strength
who that
coach?
is either, man. I'm writing
Strength
down
coach.
a lot of names here.
Yeah, that's okay. Charles Poliquin, great guy. Just passed away recently. Well, relatively recently. And he talked about that discipline is bullshit. And it's one of my favorite. Yeah, he was on a Mark Bell podcast. I hope I can say that without getting anyone upset. But he was talking about discipline is bullshit, and everyone's like, what are you talking about? Now, Charles has worked with Olympic athletes.
Wow.
He goes, look, they do what they do because they love it. There's no amount of me guilting them or yelling at them or shaming them or whatever. He goes, they do it because they love it. He goes, one of my girls, she won a gold medal. We're celebrating, and later on that night, she's like, hey, coach, you got my new program? He's like, you just won the Olympics today. She goes, yeah, and I want another one. So have you got that program ready yet? He goes, what? Are you kidding? He goes, you can't make people. You can't discipline people into that attitude.
Yeah.
So I think there has to be a reckoning on your part, on my part, as to how much you love something. You know what I mean? I have to look at some goals I've set, and I have to realize how much I really don't love it. It would be cool to do, but do I love it?
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are other goals that I don't really have to talk about much because I know it's going to happen. Come hell or high water, I love doing this thing over here. It's going to happen. So I think we have to, again, I think it's the relationships we have with others, just like the relationships we have with ourselves. We have to be fair with ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's okay if you can have 26 goals and you can have 5 of them that are always going to be red hot. Fine. You're going to get those done no matter what. It's okay that the other ones aren't necessarily all red hot and just, on fire. You go to bed thinking about it. You wake up thinking about it.
Yeah.
And that's good because I wouldn't want 26 things driving me crazy thinking about. Anyways.
Yeah.
But does it make sense what I'm saying? And I hope I'm answering your questions. I'm trying
it's
to.
Great. It's a cool perspective.
I think we have to be fair. And something I never do, and I don't know if I talk about this much, but I always ask. I always say to my body when it's time for a lift I've never done before to break a PR, I'm like, hey man, let's just do this. I never like force it. This is what's going to happen. I don't want to create a contradictory or conflict. I mean, I don't want to create a conflict between mind and body.
Wow.
We're a team. We're together. So come on, man. Wouldn't that be cool if we did this lift? Wouldn't that be awesome? Cool. You know how good that's going to feel? Let's do this,
Yeah.
That may sound a little foofy and out there, but I've learned you must have a good relationship with yourself. You must reduce all conflict to create as much positivity between mind and body to work together towards the goal.
I love that. And that plays right into bending. And that's actually in the realm of something that comes up pretty often. I'll just get into it brief because I mentioned it on a lot of other episodes. But so in my experience in jiu-jitsu, that's a pure love, right? Like I'm like I couldn't be happier when I'm on the mat, It doesn't matter how hard the training is. it could be the 7th day in a row of like the hardest training, and I'd sit there in a pool of sweat, just being like, "This is the best. This is the best."
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there wasn't a real lot of like aggressive. It's aggressive by nature, but there wasn't a lot of like anger within me for that.
No.
When I came
No.
over to the strength stuff, I thought I had to be mad and angry, like to try to
Right.
be strong, right? And then Bud
Right.
Jeffries, when he was on, he set me straight with that. He was just like, "Man, you love this stuff too. You
Right.
love jujitsu. It's all the same." And it's basically what you're
Yes.
saying here is like a
Yes.
harmony
Yes.
of mind and body, instead of being like, "You're
Yes.
gonna do this, you little bitch." Like you're
Nope.
gonna be like,
Nope.
"No," like talking.
Nope.
I like that, man. I think that's a
Nope.
key to some strength.
Of course, that's different in a meet setting. I will say
Okay.
that's a little different in
Sure.
a meet setting.
Yeah.
I'm not someone you want to talk to probably a week before a meet, and I get into a certain place with my head that you don't. I just won't say a lot because it'll be bad if I do. So about a week before the meet, I get pretty internal, and I get a good rage going, and it just happens. I can't explain it, but it's just different. Now the meet day itself, I'm very happy because it's a chance to release that energy, you know. And I love and hate meets all at the same time, because I love everything about the meet, except the one thing is, every meet I've ever done has screwed up a great training cycle.
Yeah.
You know, training will be going great. I kind of wish the meet would get canceled so I could continue this great training cycle.
Yeah.
And I always get because I create exercises almost every day. I come up with new lifts to do or new exercises to do almost daily, sometimes multiple times a day.
That's awesome.
And well, it is, unless you're prepping for a meet, because then you can't mess around.
Yeah.
You gotta work on what you gotta work
stick
on.
to the program. Yep.
Yeah. Well, you gotta fix what's weak.
Yeah.
You know. So, yeah, but most of the time, it's a very complementary, helping the body, helping the mind.
That's cool.
Because you realize that the body's been ready for a while. It's just the mind that hasn't caught up yet.
Right.
You know, like Lee Haney is the only undefeated 8-time Mr. Olympia, and he said the body won't go where the mind hasn't already gone first.
Wow.
You know, it's true.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to, and I can't remember, was it Travis Mash, who's a former power lifter, and he's now a weightlifting coach. But I believe it was Travis Mash, and I hope he doesn't beat me up if I'm using his name and I shouldn't be. But he was talking about that the visual way we are today with YouTube and Facebook and everything.
Yeah.
He's having a hard time getting athletes that can actually visualize.
Interesting.
Because it's been done for them. They've grown up without having to visualize it.
Okay.
Which is really interesting because, you know, when I grew up, we didn't have a phone in my house till I was 7.
Wow.
And that's only because my aunt got it for us. We were poor, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, entertainment was on your own.
Yeah. Sure.
But visualization, I'm sure, is important with grappling. You know?
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, when I say it comes up a lot on the show, but I've got myself to where, like, you know, it was jujitsu, now it's strength stuff and steel bending, but I think about this stuff so intensely that I dream about it, man. Like I really all the time. Like, and I when I'm falling, that's usually when I'm doing my visualization, but I'm big into that, especially when I'm getting ready to compete. Like I'm just get to a place where I can almost like smell the mat, you know? It's great.
I've been thinking of getting into grappling when I turn 50. I was thinking of
all right, cool,
doing that. Just something fun and different to do, something different to express the body.
Yeah. Well, hit me up. I know some academies there in Maine. I've looked them up when I've been up there on vacation, so I know the lay of the land up there.
Yeah, I figure if I keep my mobility where I need it to be and I keep my strength where I need it to be, I should be all right.
Nice.
You know, enough that I don't get hurt.
Sure.
You can do whatever you want as long as you're prepared.
Yep. Yeah. So talking about getting hurt and avoiding it, Adam Glass, his question for you was, what are some recommendations for shoulder mobility when people are doing a lot of double overhand bending and they're just getting that to avoid injury with that style?
Kelly snatch,
Okay.
which he has become a fan of. I helped him with that. That's with the bar behind your body. You can start with a broomstick,
Yeah,
and it looks like you're going to do a hack lift, but actually you just flip it up and over,
sure.
and you finish with your legs straight.
Okay.
Um, I would imagine pullovers, like doing the pullover, laying across the bench and doing pullovers, probably with a barbell instead of one dumbbell.
Mhm.
Probably a barbell or a dumbbell in each hand would help open up the shoulders.
Nice.
And because you're going to get a lot of crunch of your lats, subscap, pec major, and pec minor. You're going to get a lot of crunch in there. So pullovers, I think, would help a lot. And I started doing an exercise I came up with a few months ago. Was I lay on my side and do pullovers. So I'm laying on this side
Okay.
horizontally or roughly maybe at an incline, and I have a dumbbell and I let it come down and go behind the head
Oh, wow.
and come up, let it come over and then press.
Nice.
I'll link you some videos when we're
Okay.
done.
Yeah, I'll post them. Let's get
But
got a couple other questions for you.
Yeah, I think those three should be a good start at getting your shoulders open. Definitely.
Okay. All right. And then Don asked about just general lifts and exercises that are good for bending power. So like if your focus is solely to be a strong steel bender, what kind of lifts are you recommending?
If you have access to a gym or a pulley machine, what I used to do, you know what an upright row is, right?
Yes.
Like that. Well, I will go to a pulley machine with the bar and I will push down. You can't bend it, right? But I will push down and I'll really focus on following through with my body, not just with my arms, but I'll lean forward with my abs, getting everything into that bar as if I'm trying to bend it, even though I
Nice.
can't.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Or does
That
that
does
sound
make
like
sense.
crap? Okay.
No.
And of course, dips are always good.
Yeah.
Dips are always good for bending. Oh,
Huh.
yeah. And then I don't know, that bending curl I sent you with the towel and the scale weight.
Yeah.
It's funny because people, I'll even say in the description that, just something to practice or give you a rough idea what it feels like. And someone invariably will always say, well, steel is how you practice bending. When you bend steel, I'm like, I know that. This is just something to help you out.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, if you use a towel, it's going to spread the stress rather than having it in one point. So it could be something that allows you to work the motion high reps, get some blood in there, get your restoration without putting a lot of stress in one area.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Another person from Instagram said, thoughts on minimalist garage setups and safety while training heavy solo.
I've been doing that all my life, so I'm down with it.
No rack equals more safety, right?
Yeah, I mean it's yeah. I mean everything they've given you, uprights on the bench and squat stands and power racks, was to use more weight. It was never invented as a safety feature. Like the first power racks and squat stands for the Olympic team back in 1928. It was for them to save energy and to be able to squat more rather than doing the signboard lift. It had nothing to do with safety. All this stuff became safety orientated when it became time to sell it. Because I can make people buy stuff if I tell them they're going to be safe.
Yeah.
So and I guarantee you're going to want an athlete that can signboard 400 over an athlete that can squat 500 off the rack. Anyone that can take 400, tip it up, drop it on their back, or tip it over on their back.
Yeah.
Squat it, and then put it back down the same way. They're going to have a lot of core strength, which I would imagine would help with grappling as well, I would assume.
Oh, without a doubt. And you sort of touched on it before, but as far as like a minimal setup for somebody, you're just talking Barbell, some weights.
a barbell, adjustable dumbbells, a barbell, some really good collars, good quality collars, and 300, 400, 500 pounds of weight. You're good to go, man. I mean, you could probably train. I mean, if you're looking for a 500-pound Steinborn lift, a 650-pound deadlift, maybe 350 on a clean and jerk. I mean, you don't need anything but a bar and some plates, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you're going to get strong all over. And the thing that nobody realizes, well, the people I train, because I don't usually let them use a rack, is they at first they're scared of it, and then they really like the challenge of it, and then they get over to this point of like, you know, if I go on vacation somewhere and all they got is a barbell, I don't care, I'm all set. Sure. So now they feel empowered, because they realize I don't need all this equipment. Wow. I'm good. And so that's really exciting, because you help them realize, so it's, instead of worrying about it, now they're excited about it, you know. So, and again, there's a sense of accomplishment when it's just like earning stripes, earning your stripes on your belt. If you earn the weight on your back, like when you go into the gym and you put 400 on your back that you picked up off the floor, you earn that weight. You're the only person in there that earned the right to squat that weight. Yeah. Anybody can put a bar on the rack and load it up with whatever weight you want. Yeah. And because you worked up to that 400, your reps, you're going to do full reps. You're not going to do any half reps, because you're always going to use an appropriate weight. You're always going to hold back. I hold back. I've done up to 430 that way. I probably could have done 450. Yeah. But because you hold back a few pounds, there's no excuse to not get full reps, full range of motion. And if you're supposed to do 6 reps, you should be doing 6 reps. There's no excuse. Yeah. It really kind of holds you to the fire, so to speak. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's, and again, that's pretty much why I think it's safe training. You know? Yeah. Because you're limited by your fear. Gotcha. You know. Yeah. So that's good. Somebody, that's a good thing. Somebody, yes, it is. Somebody had asked me. They messaged me for the show. They said, you know, about new lifts. How do I approach new lifts? And it was a really good question, because I never really thought about it. I think I get so excited. I'm sure if somebody comes in from another school and says, hey, I got this move and it's this, and you're like, I have not seen what, come, you know, I'm sure you're not even thinking about how to approach it. You're like, you know, hurry up and put that choke on me or put that hold on me. I want to see what it's like. You know? Yeah. To me, it's kind of like dating someone, getting into a new relationship. You know, you got to feel it out. Does she think this kind of humor is funny? Does she think this kind of food is good? Does she like it? Does she like it when you do this? Does she like it when you do that? And I think that's how I assess new lifts. As I try not to presuppose too much. You know what I mean? I'm sure you find that in grappling too, that if something new comes up, you don't want to write the script before you even know what the story is. You know what I mean? Sure. Yeah. Like, take it in. Let it tell you what it is. You know, like when I started doing one-hand snatches and one-hand clean and jerks, I was trying to write the script without knowing the story, and I was trying to move up and down, because that's what I'm used to doing with a regular snatch and a regular clean and jerk. Well, with a one-hand lift, you can move up and down, left to right, to get around that bar. So what's just like if you were holding a sword with 2 hands, one on each end, versus just on one end, which one's going to give you more movement? Mm-hmm. Same thing. Yeah. So, you know, you gotta just be open to it. Don't presuppose what it is. And just say, oh, I'm going to give it a try. You know, you can read up on it if you want, but unfortunately, there's a lot of crap online. Yeah. Yeah. Like, if this matters to you, when I'm talking on my Instagram page or Facebook page or whatever, my research material, my books go back to the 1880s. Wow. Okay. So when I'm talking to anyone about bent pressing or one-hand snatching or whatever, I'm probably talking about somebody whose book I have or an article they wrote from their perspective.
Uh-huh.
I'm not just like, I see a lot of people online trying to do historical strength stuff, and they're just copying what someone else online wrote. That's wrong. And I don't care about dates. I don't care about what date that, I don't care. It doesn't matter. But
Sure.
describing a lift incorrectly can get somebody hurt,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And to lose the flavor of where that lift came from can get somebody hurt.
Yeah.
You know. So I pretty much don't copy anything offline. It's all original source material. You know, I have
Nice.
magazines and books going. Well, the magazines go back to the 1930s, and then the books go back to the 1880s, I think.
Wow.
So,
It's awesome.
but it's no different with grappling. I'm sure there's
Sure.
plenty of
Oh, yeah.
research, historical material that you're better off going straight to the source.
Definitely. Definitely. So I got two more things I want to touch on before we start wrapping up.
Sure.
One is isometric training. Your thoughts on that, and does it play a role in your own training? That comes up on the show a lot, and I'd like your thoughts on that.
Yes, it does. As Norbert Szymanski, who's probably one of our greatest weightlifters, said, they asked him if he ever did isometrics. He goes, yeah, whenever I miss a lift.
That's what we say about bending. Like when the bar doesn't move, it's just isometric.
Yeah, that's isometrics. Yeah. So you can either plan on it or you can let it happen whenever it happens. Luke Raymond, I don't know if you're familiar with Jed Johnson's
Yep.
and Luke Raymond. Both great guys. I love going to meets where they're running the meet. I love them. Jed Johnson, Luke Raymond. I can't and I won't say anything bad about those two. And great guys and great competitors, and they're really strong and they're really nice guys. And I've resisted an idea that Luke told me about because I know I'm an idiot about certain things. You have to know if you're an idiot about certain things. So right now I'm practicing putting weight on a scale, a weight that I can't lift. And then I pull on it and I make sure I can't see what the scale says. I have my camera film the scale readout. So I just focus on the pull. You know, like one of my favorite techniques. I love lifting with my eyes closed because that's when you take in all kinds of information. You know, it's helped me with a lot of clients. I just tell them to close their eyes, and I'm like, I'll catch you if you're going to fall. They're not going to fall. But it's like if you close your eyes, you can all of a sudden feel all kinds of stuff you didn't know you had.
That's awesome. Yeah,
that's going on. You know, like I had a friend of mine, actually a girlfriend that was a grappler, and she said that she did better with her eyes closed.
Yeah, I've heard that.
You know, and so it's just really, you know, it's just so many, there's so many places to take information from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so I've been doing that. I've been working on just pulling and pulling and pulling, which is isometric.
Yeah.
And so I'm just doing that once a week, seeing, do I need to do it 2 times a week, 3 times a week, once a week? You know what I mean? But it's, the nice thing about isometric for me is it really teaches me to take take extra moments to really connect with that and dig deep. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because movement happens, the range of motion happens so quickly, you know. So, like, I think pause squats are great.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I like to pause squat for maybe 10 seconds to really get a feel for it, you know, and then come up.
Yeah.
You know, well, if you're gonna pause, and pause, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, isometrics, it's definitely, I think it can really help you make that mind muscle connection because you're staying in that one area and giving it attention.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So do you like using isometrics?
I've been working them in a little bit. Bud had a lot of great stuff to say about them. Don too, and one of my strength coaches, Scott Shetler, has talked about it too. Just like if you're doing it on the bench, you know, setting pins and stuff, so you're locked out here, then you're locked out there, then you're locked, you know, like incremental, and certainly in bending, you know, if I take something I know I'm nowhere near bending yet, and I just lay into it with everything I have and hold it for as long as I can, you know, that's certainly beneficial. Like Some steel won't move till you're holding it for 10 seconds, I'll tell you.
Sometimes I'll jump into a bend. Like I'll have something like a nail,
Yeah.
and I'll jump up in the air and land. And when I land,
Wow.
I put all that energy of the landing into the nail.
Yeah.
It sounds crazy. I get it. If you want to delete that part of this, I don't blame you.
It's all right.
But I'm taking that energy
Yeah.
from leaping up and coming down and just driving and just trying to
Yeah.
focus everything into that, Or sometimes it helps if I put an elastic band around my hands, and the elastic band cuts off some of the circulation and makes my hands swell.
Oh, okay.
It gives me a cushion with the pain a little bit, but it also
wow.
gives me a little more surface area.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll use it with grip training and nail bending.
Wow.
Not super tight, but just
Yeah,
enough
yeah.
to cause a little bit,
Interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, you don't know what works. I got a broken thumb from I think I didn't anticipate some block pulls I was doing and the rebound from the bumper plates.
Yeah.
So it healed up as much as I thought it was going to heal up. And I took a couple of 5-pound deep dish plates and I laid them down together, face up. And I was just messing around after a workout, and I kind of did a key pinch,
Yeah.
So that thumb has got one plate, the other plate's the index finger, and I would just pick them up, and I worked up to doing a couple of 10s, just fooling around.
Nice. Yeah.
So that thumb burned for the next 2 days,
Yeah.
right in here. And that pain I always had from the break was gone.
Wow.
So if I hadn't just said, hey, what would happen if you just don't know?
Yeah.
You just don't know. So just if you want to go do something, go do it. Don't
Yeah.
let anyone tell you nothing, because it's
Nice.
your results. It's your life,
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that exercise will ever do anything for anyone ever again in the history of the human race. I get it. But it's being true to yourself. It's giving yourself a chance,
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how silly it looks. What's it going to hurt anyone for me to do that silly lift,
Right. Right.
So, and now I've got a thumb that's pain-free.
That's great.
Yeah, it's just, you just don't know.
Yeah.
But
And then the next question was it's just a personal one, because me being too fast, I tweaked my back pretty good back in September on a deadlift that I probably had no business trying yet. So what's some exercises that you'd recommend to rehab my lower back and hopefully get me back to pulling sooner than later?
I have a traction setup that I came up with a while back. Have you seen that?
No.
Okay. It involves a power. Do you have a power rack? Because you're going to need a rack for this.
I just have like a bench. No, it's like a bench with a squat rack attached, not like a true power rack at all.
Do you have 2 barbells?
Just like little ones?
Yeah.
Or like-
Yeah. They don't.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send you a video. There's
Okay.
a traction where you pretty much have one bar set up. Say you set this all up because you're going to support yourself off the ground, so you don't want your
Okay.
feet touching the ground.
Sure.
So maybe a couple inches above that. But
Uh-huh.
so you're going to have one bar that's at the what's called the occipital protuberance, and it's that little knob on the back of your head.
Okay.
You know that knob on the back
I
of your
do.
head?
Yeah.
So you want the top bar set up so that you're going to lean back and it's going to come right under that knob. You're going to lean back. The other bar is going to be set up so that you can get up onto your hands with your arms extended.
Okay.
You're going to lean back into that bar. So that
Wow.
top bar, make sure it's not facing out, but facing into the rack.
Okay.
If it faces out and you do too much pressure, you'll fall off. You'll push you and the bar off.
Okay.
Don't ask me how I know. I ain't telling nothing. But anyways, and it can lead into doing what's called a reverse deadlift. And I'll show
Okay.
you a video, but pretty much
Cool.
it becomes, you bring your knees up and over the bar,
Okay.
and it's exactly the opposite of what you do on a deadlift. But
Wow.
just getting into position,
Yeah.
it will traction all the way down into my sacrum.
Wow. Okay.
So at first, you got to break up some scar tissue. So you just might notice a little bit of shifting in your neck or even in between your shoulder blades. But as you get going and you get into position, you can practice it a few times a day, and eventually your body weight will break up that scar tissue.
Nice.
Because I hope I can say this without upsetting too many people. I love chiropractic. I don't necessarily like violent adjustments.
Okay. Yeah.
And it goes back to the whole asking your body to do something versus forcing it to do something. So with this setup, you can do it multiple times a day. It's just traction. But eventually your body's going to go, oh, okay, you want me to release this and release that. And it will slowly lengthen and break up the scar tissue.
Okay.
I would start with that first. And do you do a lot of Quadratus Lumborum work, like a lot of side-to-side work, or no? Like a lot of side bends or bent
I just
pressing?
started, my friend Dave, who's helping with me with my programming, he's worked in some kettlebell bent presses and windmills and core stability stuff. And so it's in there.
Have you done a cross leg side bend? Have you seen those?
No.
That's pretty good. My last client is 52. Arthritis in the sacrum, MRI confirmed.
Oh, okay.
And he's now pain free. And I think the thing that he said really helped him out was the cross leg side bend really helped stretch that area out. And when he's tight and he's doing it, all of a sudden you'll hear like 3 or 4 pops in his lower back. And it's just
kidding.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll show you a video on that. But
great. Appreciate it. And I know that's something
I think
that people struggle with.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is the Quadratus Lumborum.
Okay.
It's the only muscle that's connected to the sides of the spine.
Yeah.
Versus either front or back. It's connected to your floating ribs, and it's connected to 4 out of your 5 lumbar vertebrae. And then it originates on the crest of the ilium, which is your pelvis. So, you'll be you got one hip higher than the other. It's going to affect your lower back.
Yeah.
So if you learn to balance it out by doing some kind of side bends.
Nice.
I do twisting side bends, cross leg side bends, and it can help balance you out because most of us are either right-handed or left-handed.
Yeah.
So you're going to get twisted. If you're going to do strength training, you're going to get twisted more one way than the other.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's why I do the get-ups. That's why I do the bent presses to help keep that balance between the two.
Yep. Same in grappling. You develop one pathway. Major imbalances there.
Yes. I will say what was a big help to me with grip training is I was getting frustrated with my non-dominant hand, and your non-dominant hand tends to be smaller. It's narrower and shorter. And I just got mad and frustrated. And one day I said, you know what? You two are both controlled by the same brain. I don't have a brain for, I said, so I said, it's the same brain for both of you two knuckleheads. So, and once I had that conversation with myself, the non-dominant hand improved dramatically.
Yeah.
And stays within a few pounds of the dominant hand now, which is pretty cool.
That is cool.
But it was because I had that realization. I just kind of put my foot down and said, that's it.
Yeah.
One brain controls both of you. If that helps anyone, just have a talk with yourself and say, knock it off.
All right. So we reached the end point of the show. This is a rapid fire series of questions. Usually that's all about bending, but I'm going to switch it up.
Oh, okay.
Switch it up to be about lifting for the most part. So first question of the medley is favorite lift.
2-hand anyhow.
All right. Hardest lift for you?
Benching, incline benching, pressing, overhead pressing, behind the neck pressing.
All right.
My shoulders have been, I got some genetic stuff and it's better, but it's,
Gotcha. All right.
I can get out of a half Nelson. I can get out of a full Nelson. I can dislocate my shoulders whenever I want.
Perfect. You'll be great in grappling.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. something.
I'm really good at finger fingers in strongman, but I'm no good at any pressing movements. It makes no
Gotcha.
sense at all.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So something outside of strength training, strength feats that you enjoy, something outside that realm.
Dodge power wagons.
All right, cool. All right. What's the one, well, usually I ask, what's the one bend that got away, but let's do, what's the one lift that's got away so far?
The one lift that's got away so far.
One that's haunting you.
I guess one hand pinching some deep dish York 45s. That one is still
Nice.
haunting me.
Nice.
I guess that would be the one.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Here's a fun one. This usually stumps people, but to preface it, it's completely open-ended. So the question is, who's the strongest person you know? This could be some guy from your town, your grandpa, somebody that you know within lifting. There's no rules.
Yeah.
This is just, and if you can't think of anybody, then just name one of the strongest people you want to know and give them some shine.
No. One of the strongest people I know. Quite possibly it was my father's father, the one I said that did wrestling in carnivals.
Yeah.
He could walk up and down stairs on just his hands. And he used to win log rolling on the river.
Yeah. Cool.
He used to win
Yeah.
log rolling competitions.
No way.
He lied about his age to get into World War I.
Wow.
Because he was too young. And then he lied about his age because he was too old to get into World War II.
Sure.
I would say he's probably the strongest person I know.
That's cool.
Probably second to that would be Chuck Yeager, who just died at 97 years old.
Wow.
He's the guy that broke the sound barrier back in 1947. And he also, I think he got separated from his unit, and he was he had to fend for himself for 4.5 months to keep from being caught by Germans. So he was just whatever he could live on in the woods for 4.5 months. So
Unreal.
That's a pretty, and anyone that lives to be over 80 years old, you got to be strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Getting old is not for the weak.
Yeah. Good answers.
Thank you.
How about the best piece of advice you were ever given? This could be about strength training or life in general.
Pop, my father is not a talker with advice, but he said everyone waits till they're ready to get married, to have kids, to buy a house. He goes, there's no such thing. Just do it. Just live life. And I'm like,
Cool.
Okay. He goes, yeah, plan if you can, but if you can't, so what? It's life. Just live it. Just don't worry about it. Just live life.
Nice.
I thought that was pretty good.
That's a
That
good
and his
one.
attitude with us kids was, I don't care how much noise you make as long as it's happy. If it's unhappy noise, there's going to be problems.
Huh.
Keep it happy.
That's cool.
Okay, Pop. And he didn't care. We could hoot and holler as long as he was happy. He did not care.
That's cool.
Yeah, I thought so.
All right. And the last one I usually ask is the funniest reaction a person has had when they find out you spend your time bending nails. So.
Funniest reaction. I worked as a waiter for many years. I worked in restaurants about 20 years, and I used to bend nails for kids. And I would say just those reactions, and of course, the kid's reaction is awesome. But because I would do it at the end of the meal, and then the wife would lean over to the husband and say, "Can you just tip him a little more, would you? Thank you." You know, kind of like we better tip him, which isn't why I did it, but I thought it was funny that oftentimes the wife would lean over and say, "Honey, throw down another 5, okay?"
That's cool.
But I love doing it for the kids because I when I would do strongman, the kids would come up to you and want to talk to you, and it's you have to talk to them. You know, they could be doing it someday. So anything you can do to encourage kids are going to be crazy. They can either get into drugs and alcohol, or they can get into something like bending steel, which doesn't cost a lot of money. They can go down to a hardware store, get some kind of nails, get some steel, get a couple pieces of leather. Weights is a little bit harder. I mean, it's easy enough, but
Yeah.
It's easy to just say, yeah, let me take you down to the store. We'll get some bolts, we'll get some nails, I'll show you how to
Yeah.
bend. I think if you can get kids excited, because to them it's like magic when you bend a nail in front of them,
Yeah. Yep. My son is 9. Well, my older son is 9, Caden, and
Cool.
he grapples, he lifts with me, he's doing push-ups, all
Cool.
the stuff, and he
Wow.
he does bending too, right? So
Nice.
he's he snaps 3/16. He competed in the junior league with David Horn's competition.
Nice.
So and
Jeez.
with me and him, man, it's just like, obviously I like that he's into what I'm into, but I wouldn't care if he wasn't, it's like the fact is it's just a culture I'm trying to show in my house. Like we mentioned in the beginning of the show, music was for me growing up, it was just like just around. So with all this strength stuff and grappling, that's just kind of like, I don't want him to even think of it as something he does. I just want him to think of it as like, it's just part of life,
Well, and it's a healthy outlet.
Yeah.
It's a positive, healthy outlet.
Yeah.
And that if he ever wants to be better at it, he's going to have to take care of himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It can lead to some good positive stuff beyond in of itself. So
definitely.
All
right. In closing, who's someone you'd like to see me have on the show?
Someone I would like to see you have on the show. Well, have you had Tanner Merkel on yet?
No, but I've talked to him a little bit. I'm working on that one. So, that's a good answer. That's a good reminder to get him on.
Tanner Merkel, just so he can remind us that he's just too awesome for all of us. Have you had Dennis Rogers on?
I'm working on it. He's a little bit hard to get in touch with, but I'm working on it.
He is the nicest guy in the world. I met him. I was competing at York had a strength picnic, and this would be back in 2011. It's where the mighty, where the Atom and Slim the Hammerman were inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, nice.
And of course, Dennis was mentored by Slim the Hammerman.
Yep.
And I had just was it Scam School? Is that what it's called? Scam School on YouTube. And Dennis was on an episode of Scam School.
Oh, okay.
And I'd just seen it. And so when I got there and I was able to, and Dennis was just great and approachable and just very funny and just a great guy. If you get him, if you get Dennis on there too.
Nice.
If you ever get a chance to meet him, he's a great guy.
Cool. Yeah.
And he can bend some stuff, dude. He can bend some stuff.
Yeah.
It's just cool because, seeing someone bend steel is just insane. Yeah, picking up a barbell, okay, that's great. Don't get me wrong, it's awesome, but just to deform a piece of metal that was made with a lot of heat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's you got to admit, it's pretty crazy. It's awesome, but it's crazy.
Oh yeah. Oh no doubt. All my grappling friends are like, God damn, they're like, what are you up to? They're like, don't come back to grappling.
The tendon and ligament strength it's got to build, dude.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Yeah. And it teaches you to work in a very, well, for me, I would work in a very tight spot and not really be moving much, but to be tensing and stay tensing and to not be moving. And that's not easy. You just want to release that pressure and you can't. Well, you can bend the damn thing and then you can release the pressure. So, no, this has been a great podcast. This has been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. I hope you did.
Thank you, man. Oh yeah, absolutely. This is a great one. And we got two more things and then we're out of here. So
yeah. What do you got?
Tips and advice for beginner lifters.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple and it'll come. Just let it take time. It's going to take time. It's okay.
Yeah.
There's no rush. There's no rush at all. Don't rush it.
The long game. That's been a theme of the last few guests I've had, man.
I'm telling you, I'm 49 and I'm still hitting PRs.
That's great.
I'm still being able to do stuff I've never done before. And that's not going to happen if I was 15 and blew my load all over the place all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I understand what it's like to be 15 and you want to kill everything in the gym. I get it. Just try to remember that if you can keep at this the next 30 years, dude, you can do some amazing stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm very thankful for Strongman. Strongman pushed me way beyond what I probably would have done on my own. And it gave me the ability to do what I do now. But Strongman isn't just pick it up and put it down. It's like, pick it up. It's trying to crush you. Now run around with it for 30 to 40 seconds, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Awesome. You know?
Yeah.
So just, I know it sounds impossible to tell someone who's 14 or 15 to take 30, you know, that if you do it right, you can be doing this 30 years from now, 40 years from now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You will still be gaining for at least the next 30 years. So it's worth it.
Yeah. I don't think the person needs to be 14 or 15, you know, like it feels
No,
good to see those gains in the beginning that like someone of wisdom like yourself telling you to play the long game. That's valuable stuff, man.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I don't feel like I'm losing or slowing down or whatever you want to call it. I don't sit there and say, I better not do this or that. I don't have any of that. You know, it's just a matter of, I will say I'm incorporating more movement into my training to make up for the lack of movement in my daily life that I don't have.
Yep.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, that does. Yeah. And where can people find you on social media and stuff?
Well, Strongman Archaeology on Facebook. I have a Strongman Archaeology page, and Strongman Archaeology on TikTok, Strongman Archaeology on Instagram.
Great.
And Strongman Archaeology on Daily Motion.
All right. Okay, cool.
It's my alternative to the other video platform that still is dinging me for copyright issues from 6 or 7 years ago, and I'm tired of it.
Jesus.
So,
all right.
I'm like, dude, if you didn't catch me in the first 30 days, just leave me alone. But
yeah.
every once in a while, 5 years ago, you had this CD playing in the background. I'm like,
good
I
Lord.
paid for the CD. The band got their cut. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
So,
and last thing, any events, brands, or gear you want to shout out before we're done?
Brands, shout out before you're done. No, nothing.
Okay.
Nothing I can think of. Well, I guess I got to be fair. I will say Rogue's Deep Dish series looks to be pretty good. I know there's some controversy with some people, but maybe some of the, because I have plates that go back to the 1930s.
Yeah.
And some of my Globe barbells and dumbbells go back to pre-World War I.
Yep.
But I will say from the look of it that Rogue's Deep Dish series is really well made, extremely well priced, and it's made in the USA. And I am shocked at how cheap they're offering it for being made in the USA. Their deep dish plates, and it looks like the fit and finish. Like it looks like some of their 100-pounders are coming in within half a pound, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, you're almost paying calibrated plates for that.
Yeah.
You know, for that kind of accuracy. So
yeah.
I gotta give it to Rogue. They seem to have done a really nice job. Have you seen any of their? Have you seen them?
Yes, Jed brought them up on the show last week, actually. So I was checking them out just this past week.
Yep, I gotta give it to them. It's a ductile iron that they're using, and no, I don't get paid by Rogue or sponsored by Rogue, but I have to give credit where credit is due. They've done a really nice job. I really wasn't concerned when I heard they were going to do that, but now that it's come out, it's like, geez, that's a really nice job. And you see the price, and you're like, because I think a pair of hundreds was going for $305 for the pair.
Yeah,
made in the U.S.
Yeah, can't beat that.
I don't know what your shipping's going to be on wherever you live, but
yeah.
Anyways,
All right, James. Well, that's a wrap, man. I really appreciate
Thanks.
you coming on. It was a hell of a lot of fun to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope we do it again sometime. That was fun.
Cool.
That was
yeah.
fun.
And like I said, I'm sure I'm not alone in saying when I scroll across your Instagram, that's a daily inspiration, man. It's very cool to see.
Thank you.
So keep it up, and
Thank you.
I'll be in touch.
All right. Thanks, man.
Have
Take
a good
care.
rest of the night.
Thanks, you too.